So for a while now, we've really been building this momentum for Great Game of Education, and one of the challenges that we've sort of has been that elephant of the room throughout the process is this huddle structure. It's such an integral part of SRC and Great Game of Business, and so we really wanted to come up with a system that would bring those elements to Missouri Southern. We had to come up with a way that we could emphasize day-to-day decisions, and we had to come up with a way that we could show that information cascading throughout. We actually developed a Huddle scoreboard that was sort of a simplified version of the unit scoreboard.
So the Career Services Office keeps a lot of metrics already, whether that's within student engagement, faculty engagement, or even employer engagement within our services. And within those levels, there's already a lot of metrics that we even wanted to start tracking, but didn't necessarily know how.
At the beginning of this process, there had been a meeting with the directors in student affairs, for us to be challenged to identify the areas that we feel we could communicate up the ladder in this huddle rhythm. And so we got together and identified some touch point areas that we feel were important to our mission as well.
The huddle process kind of started talking with Landon Adams, and we got a little bit more understanding as to what we wanted our metrics to be for our office. So we started putting together some things within the office of what do we measure? What do we normally look at year to year or month to month that we think is important?
Mariah Kalari from our office will be tracking, the item that we chose is transcript articulation. In addition to that, we would like to be able to track the turnaround time.
So in Project Stay, the exposure that we had to GGOE is attending some meetings, and we had attempted a couple of mini games, but as far as the huddles, we really didn't know what a huddle was or what to do. Landon came over and sat with us, and we're pretty data driven in our office, and so we always wonder what's working, what's making the difference.
Throughout the Great Game process, one of the misperceptions that we're getting is that it's only dollars and cents focused. This is also about just improving efficiency, improving what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. We really saw this huddle rhythm as a great opportunity to emphasize those things. And so what you'll see on your individual departmental scorecards is not just a dollars and cents for the day-to-day decisions, but also the opportunity to talk about your critical metrics. Every area on campus has these critical metrics that they think are important. With this new huddle rhythm, we really wanted to capture those things because we could save all the money in the world, but if we stop doing our jobs, then we're not doing what we're here to do.
The Career Services Office at Missouri Southern was really excited about the Great Game of Education, and especially when we started to hear about huddle rhythms and hearing the presentation within the Student Affairs Directors meeting, I knew that our team would immediately grasp this concept and run with it.
And we identified, for example, what those student touch points look like. That's what we wanted to track. We wanted to take a look at how many students are we engaging with, because for us, that is a key area that we can impact our campus community.
Initially, our departmental huddle started where we looked at the budget numbers that we were going to report up to Student Affairs, as well as our critical metrics for our internal office. We looked at those really as an office for the very first time, but putting it in the sense of a huddle where we're actually measuring something and we're looking at past data now as well as current data, it kind of helps us start thinking a little more behind the scenes of why are those numbers a little different.
So my data that I had been tracking was by calendar year. Some people were tracking data by an academic year, beginning fall, ending in July, and then other people were tracking data by Missouri Southern's fiscal year. So we all had to get on the same page and make sure we were all reporting from the same due date to define that.
And so you take that information, and now when we meet in our monthly huddles, we will take that information and make decisions based on the data that we have. So for example, our big overarching goal is we want to make sure they graduate. But you have to break it down into smaller bits of information that lead to that graduation.
Before on campus, I don't think that everybody had, the knowledge of what was going on, and it wasn't open. And now it feels like it's open in that
everybody takes a part in everything. Like, it matters. It's completely different whenever we're involved in those actual huddles and can ask our own questions. And like Siobhan was saying, just feel like we matter, that our voices can be heard. And it's very empowering, and just, again, gives us more knowledge than what we would get from just, having the information relayed to us later on.
We've already seen in student affairs just how much saying those metrics out loud to each other has helped us to better understand the objectives of our departments and how we can work together to accomplish those things.
Coming around Great Game of Education as an office collectively, and one, understanding where we stand. How are we engaging our students? There's a lot of different metrics that we can track to see if those connections are happening.
Oh, well, this is really interesting. What is this office doing? Or what does this metric mean to that office? And we just see it as another opportunity for us to be aware of what other student affairs offices are doing.
For us, we've had a timeline change in the FAFSA application process itself. So just understanding last year's timeline to this year's timeline is a story behind the numbers. And I think that's what's probably the most important, is it generated a lot of conversation.
The main thing, I guess, conversation-wise, is that as we were going through those numbers for this first huddle, questions were being asked from other departments, just more of an FYI, or did you consider this, or have you looked at it like that? So lots of questions, or please define, what are you talking about? When you say that number, what does that mean?
One thing we're doing differently now is we are working with Alex in career services on how can we join together to increase the number of job shadowing opportunities for our students.
Before, I had no idea maybe where we were going financially. I knew things were tight or whatever, but we didn't know exact numbers. And so now we can look at the data and we see exactly what's happening. It's very clear. And, we realize that the more we participate, the better things are. Nobody can fix it on their own. Hearing all the different departments' goals, that was really neat, and just thinking to myself, wow, how could our numbers possibly help them in a way as well, and how can we collaborate to just help everyone as a whole?
Ideally, what will happen is as we track these, we can begin to quantify those indirect line of sights onto the university bottom line. That quantification of the effect of critical numbers will be a piece that is sort of always evolving and that we're always improving on. And our leaders on campus all have operate a little bit different. Everyone's a little bit different in how they run their departments and how they work with their teams. And so really the biggest piece of this, and one of the biggest challenges with this whole huddle rhythm in general, is getting everyone onto a sort of synchronized meeting schedule once a month. We want this to all fit in to a puzzle so that we can track these numbers together and that we can help spread this information amongst each other.